"50 minutes and 26 seconds. A humanoid robot just ran a half marathon faster than any human being has ever run one. It beat 12,000 human competitors, and it beat the world record by nearly 7 minutes. Now, here's the number that should really make you stop and think. 1 year ago, the winning robot of this exact race finished in 2 hours and 40 minutes. That is a 2-hour improvement in just 12 months. So the question is not, can robots run? We've settled that. The question is, why is China doing this, and what is it actually for? On the surface, a robot marathon is a novelty, a fleeting spectacle, which we couldn't have even imagined a decade ago. It's the kind of thing that does very well on social media for about 48 hours, then gets replaced by the next big thing. But look at these machines. Who funded them? What the Chinese government has written into its 5-year economic plan? What happens to the companies whose robots perform well? And what these machines are eventually being built to do. It then stops looking like a sport almost immediately, and it starts becoming clear, crystal clear. After all, if you want a robot that moves fast on roads, then autonomous EVs are the best platform for that. April 19, 2026. Beijing saw more than 100 robots and 12,000 humans run a half marathon. 2 parallel lanes, one for people, one for machines, so no one gets taken out by a runaway humanoid. Lightning, built by Honor, a Chinese smartphone company, finished in 50 minutes 26 seconds. The fastest human in the race, 1 hour 7 minutes. The human world record, set just weeks earlier in Lisbon, 57 minutes and 20 seconds, by Uganda's Jacob Kiplimo. One robot fell flat on its face at the start line, another walked directly into railings near the finish. These things happen too, and the companies involved may have actually let it happen, because that is the point, something which we will get to later. But this may signal the arrival of a new era, which brings us to the bigger question. Why is this race happening in Beijing and not in Boston or Tokyo or Munich? Because the marathon is not a one-off. It is one piece of a much larger infrastructure China has been deliberately building. In August 2025, Beijing hosted the first ever World Humanoid Games. 280 teams, 16 countries, more than 500 robots, 26 events over 3 days. The 100 meters, the 400 meters, the 1500 meters, standing long jump, soccer, boxing, martial arts, tai chi, gymnastics. And then, in a separate category, scenario events, factory material handling, hospital drug sorting, hospital service simulation. So, sport, and then a preview of what these machines will actually do for a living. At the 2026 Spring Festival, China's biggest annual TV event, watched by hundreds of millions of people, saw dozens of robots performing kung fu routines in formation. One organizer put it this way: a decade or two from now, we'll look back and recognize this as the birth of the Robotics Olympics. Just as the modern Olympics originated in Greece, the 2026 Robot Games are already confirmed. A permanent World Humanoid Robotics Games Federation has been founded. So why go to all this trouble? The event, the infrastructure, the spectacle, the national TV appearances. There are 3 overlapping answers, and they all matter. First, training data. A robot navigating 21 kilometers of real terrain, uneven surfaces, bends, crowds, other robots falling around it, generates more useful motion capture data than months of lab testing. Real-world failure, at scale, in public, is irreplaceable. When the robot crashed into the railings near the finish, the engineers were watching. That data went straight back to the algorithm. The falls are not embarrassments, they are inputs. Second, funding. In July 2025, a company called Booster Robotics won the Robo Cup Championship in Brazil. 2 days later, they announced $14 million in Series A financing. The robot sports have become a performance benchmark that investors watch. They've also become a revenue stream in their own right. Robot soccer events have sold tickets, attracted sponsors from liquor brands to esport companies, and have drawn live streams from state broadcasters. Third, national strategy. In 2023, Chinese government policy documents named humanoid robotics a new frontier in technological competition. In March 2025, intelligent robots appeared in China's annual government work report for the first time ever. Investment in robotics and embodied AI hit 73.5 billion yen, roughly $10.8 billion in 2025 alone. The race is not a race. It's a policy instrument with the finish line on it. Here is what is easy to miss about robotic sports. The biggest winners are not the companies whose robots cross the line first. The entire supply chain benefits. Every motor manufacturer, every sensor company, every chip designer, every software team. When there's a public benchmark with cameras on it, everyone in the ecosystem is under pressure to improve. Chinese companies, Agibot and Unitree, each shipped more than 5,000 humanoid robots last year. Not prototypes, not demo units, manufactured and shipped. A London-based research firm recently ranked 3 Chinese companies as the only first-tier global vendors of general-purpose humanoid robots by shipment volume. 3 Chinese companies, nobody else in the same tier. International teams competing at the robot games use Chinese-built hardware loaded with their own software algorithms. They came to compete, they ended up learning Chinese hardware inside out, integrating their work on top of it, going home with a deeper dependency on China's robotics platform. It's not just a showcase, it's quietly becoming the infrastructure that everyone builds on. These machines, however, are not yet ready for the world unsupervised. But the arc of improvement is not gradual, it's accelerating. 2 hours and 40 minutes to 50 minutes in 1 year. If you plot that curve forward, the number gets uncomfortable quite quickly. And the destination was never sport. The entire apparatus, the marathon, the boxing ring, the Tai Chi judges, the factory sorting scenarios, is a stress testing pipeline for machines being built to work on logistics centers, manufacturing floors, elder care facilities, and emergency response zones. Places where humans are too slow, too expensive, or too much at risk. The marathon is the training ground. What comes after is the point.